1-844-500-4242. Somebody says, hey, lay off Mitt. He's a classy guy. I used to think he was a classy guy myself. I didn't think he would be so immature as to, hold this against Trump. That Trump was prevailing where he never could prevail. And by the way, he's kind of a wimp, isn't he? Don't you want somebody who's kind of a hard bar? I mean, Mitt couldn't handle Candy Crowley in the second debate.
Don't you think it's tactically smart from Trump's perspective, though, as kind of like a peace offering to the establishment when he's going to run again in 2020? Don't cause any trouble. I brought some of your people in.
He's made enough gestures to the so-called establishment. Besides, he is the establishment now. I mean, Nikki Haley was pretty nasty to him too in South Carolina. She's on the short list. There were a lot of people that he's Kasich called him up. And I don't think he's going to give Kasich, the governor of Ohio, anything. But what the hell? Mitt went out of his way. I mean, what's he going to do? What's he going to say next? That Bill Kristol is in the running for press secretary? He's right up there with Bill Kristol when it comes to these guys were out trying to recruit a never Trump candidate, and now it's going to be everything's going to be fine. Oh, okay, everything's going to be fine. 1-844-500-4242. John, you're next with Howie Carr. Go ahead, John.
Hey, Howie, how you doing?
Good.
This whole thing with Mitt Romney and stuff. It's one thing about Trump. He's a smart enough man to grab the smart people. He doesn't care about what was said to him before and all that. And as far as people like Liz Warren on the news excerpt today, Donald Trump's going to correct the corruption in Washington and drain the swamp. Hiawatha, that's you. Don't you get it yet? And the Democrats lost the election because they said they didn't go after the uneducated. Do you know how many people in construction that work with their hands have bachelor's degrees and master's degrees?
I know.
Because over the last 8 years, we did not have a job market for what they went to school for.
I understand.
Bunch of idiots.
I know. Did you hear this? The Ohio Congressman Tim Ryan. He's one of the guys who's trying to overthrow Nancy Pelosi, which I guess they're going to have to do. But he's now trying to. This guy, I had never heard of him before the election. He's now trying to suck up to the people who voted for Trump. And first of all, he's on Fox and Friends this morning. And first of all, he says, "Oh, I'm Irish, so I don't mind a good fight." Your name's Ryan. I think we know you're Irish.
If you're Irish,
right? And who cares if you're Irish? And listen, here's what he said. He said, as Democrats, we have to go after people who take a shower after work and not just people who take a shower before work. And I think, how condescending is that? Don't you go after everybody? I mean, he's still putting people in baskets of deplorables and irredeemables. I hate the guy already. That's the first time I've ever seen him on TV, and he's just such a two-faced hypocrite, just like all the rest of those guys in Washington in the Democrat caucus. I'm with you. And by the way, what does it matter if you have a college degree or not? I mean, what is a college degree worth? You see these demonstrators on TV at night. They don't know anything. They're ignorant. They're stupid. It's ridiculous. And they're still talking about this. He got the votes of uneducated white men. What does that mean, uneducated? What does a degree really matter? What did it ever matter? How many degrees did Abraham Lincoln have, by the way, or George Washington? They were self-taught. Thanks for the call, John. 1-844-500-4242. Joining us now on the line is Dr. Sebastian Gorka. Dr. Gorka, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
It's my pleasure. Great to be back.
Hey, listen, you were in the Trump Tower yesterday, weren't you?
I was in the Trump Tower on Monday and Tuesday, and there's some footage floating around today of my presence there. I don't know why, but it's floating around.
So are you in the running for something or some appointment or one thing or another?
All I can say is that I've met with key members of the campaign of the transition, and I've told everybody simply if I am asked to support Mr. Trump in his government, it wouldn't simply be an honor, it would be a duty. If I can support in the national security field, I would love to. But beyond that, these decisions are in the hands of the people inside the tower, so let's just let them come to those decisions.
Okay, we're talking to Dr. Sebastian Gorka. His new book is Defeating Jihad. I'll ask you one more thing before we start talking about the campaign in Mosul and in Raqqa. What's your take on these reports that Mitt Romney is in the running now for Secretary of State? Because you'd be in some sort of a foreign policy or military position, I think, if you joined the administration.
I just heard those. It's very interesting, and I just remind everybody that Donald Trump is not an establishment politician. He's not even a politician. So the idea that he has to follow anybody else's patterns or previous trends is fallacious. So this is a man who doesn't owe his success to the GOP or anybody in the Washington cabal. So he's going to probably make quite a few decisions that surprise people. So put your seatbelts on and get ready for a ride.
Well, this news this afternoon is the biggest surprise I've gotten yet. You know, considering the words that they exchanged during the primary campaign, and then later on after that. But anyway, Dr. Gorka, good to have you on the show. And what's going on in Mosul? Do you think now? As you know, the Iraqis and the Kurds are trying to reclaim the city from ISIS control, second largest city in Iraq, and now I guess we're beginning to the initial stages of trying to tighten the noose around Raqqa, which is the capital of the so-called caliphate in Syria. What's going on here?
Well, we're a month into this assault with a very heterogeneous force of fighters. So we're trying to stabilize that area right now. It's a little bit like squeezing a balloon, so we're other jihadis being pushed into other areas, even further north. But Mosul, if it can be stabilized, is very important. It's the second biggest city in Iraq. But Raqqa, really, as you mentioned, Raqqa has this symbolic significance of being the quote-unquote capital of the new Caliphate, the Islamic State. So after Mosul, the story's not over, and they've got to keep on pushing.
Well, do you think that Obama has decided to go after Raqqa as part of his quote-unquote legacy, that he'd like to overthrow the capital of the Caliphate before he leaves office?
I'm not sure about that. If you look how slowly things have gone so far with Mosul, things are going to be even more difficult in Syria. That's a completely non-permissive environment. That's another country whose government doesn't want anybody else there except perhaps Russia. So if he's thinking that this is how he's going to shore up his legacy, I'm not sure that's a good decision.
Yeah, what is Don? Again, you talked to Donald Trump and the incoming administration and the campaign. Donald Trump is now the recipient of kind words from Bashar Assad, the president of Syria, and of course, Putin is and Russia are one of Bashar Assad's biggest supporters in the region. They're bombing on his behalf. What do you think Donald Trump is going to do about Syria? I mean, are we going to cut off the funding to the so-called Syrian rebels? I mean, he's spoken rather disparagingly of them, saying we don't really know who these people are. What's going on there?
Well, I think a lot of people are starting to realize that there's a new sheriff in town, and that's why you're getting these statements from bad guys like Putin and Assad. What's going to happen? Look, Donald Trump is a realist, and he won't be held hostage to the fantasies of the current administration that have said for the last 5 years that whatever happens in Syria, Assad has to go. Well, that's just absurd. Assad may be an evil, evil dictator, but as long as he enjoys the support of two nuclear nations, Russia and China, as well as Iran, he's not going anywhere. So I think there's going to have to be some hard talking, some hard negotiations, the recognition that Assad will maintain control of some part of the country. But the question is what happens in the other end. That is far too early to predict right now.
Is it possible that we could have some kind of détente and in Syria and join the Russians in going after ISIS? After January 20th, is that possible?
Well, nothing's out of the question. But let's be clear: Russia isn't there to kill ISIS. I mean, if you just look at who they're targeting, they're not even really interested in taking down ISIS. They're interested in taking down the anti-Assad rebels. You just have to look at the maps that were released with regard to their bombing runs. So the idea that batteries is, again, totally fallacious. He's there to make sure his friend Assad stays in power. So again, you have to judge these things in the cold light of day with a large chunk of realism mixed in.
We're talking to Dr. Sebastian Gorka. He was a foreign policy advisor to Donald Trump during the campaign. His name is in the mix for some position in the new administration, and his new book is Defeating Jihad. Well, what I've never understood, Dr. Gorka, is why is Russia so concerned about these anti-Assad rebels who seem to be fairly feckless when it comes to fighting? I mean, I know we're giving them a lot of weapons and all that sort of thing, and money probably as well. But I mean, isn't the real threat in Syria ISIS?
Well, it depends how long a game plan you have. For Assad, the real threat are individuals that can bring in reform and create some kind of representative government in Syria. So that's the danger to him. And especially from the point of view of Putin, Putin is an autocrat as well. He's a vicious individual. Journalists who criticize him end up being shot on their doorstep. So this is a man who wants to support regimes like his own regime. So this is about kindred spirit. So anybody who challenges the legitimacy of Assad and wants to replace that with a democratic or more representative regime isn't just a threat to Damascus, it's a threat to the way Putin does politics as well.
What was it Joe Stalin used to say during World War II? How many divisions does the Pope have? I mean, how many divisions does the Free Syrian Army have? That would be my comeback there. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I hear you.
Do you think Donald Trump is naive when it comes? I know you're in a rough spot and you probably don't want to answer this, but is Donald Trump naive when he talks about Vladimir Putin and doing business with him?
The last word that would come to mind in describing Donald Trump is naive. You don't get to be an incredibly successful real estate developer in New York by being naive. No, I think what you've seen between Trump and Putin is simply a recognition of the alpha male factor. I think Donald Trump understands who Putin is. He's not a good guy. But I tell you what, he understands he's also an alpha male, and Donald is an alpha male too. So I think that's where all these conspiracy theories get out of control. It's nothing more than the recognition that this guy is hardcore, and in some respects, hardcore masculine leaders have to be respected in ways that wussified neoliberal globalists really shouldn't be.
I don't know who you would be referring to when you talk about
I'll leave that up to your imagination.
Wussified globalists. Okay, Dr. Sebastian Gorka, the title of your book is?
Defeating Jihad, and my website is thegorkabriefing.com. TheGorka, thegorkabriefing.com.
Good luck in the appointment sweepstakes that are ongoing, and you've always been a great guest for the Howie Carr Show, and I hope we'll speak to you again before January 20th. Dr. Sebastian Gorka.
Thank you. Anytime. My pleasure.
Thank you. That's Sebastian Gorka, and again, the title of his book is Defeating Jihad. This half hour of the Howie Carr Show is brought to you in part by Captain Parker's Chowder Company. This holiday season, you'll find Captain Parker's thick and creamy clam chowder in supermarkets all over New England. If you don't see it, ask for it. And thanks from the bottom of the bowl. I'm Howie Carr.
There's only one Howie Carr.
Smartphone.